Have you ever looked back at your past relationships and thought, how did I end up here again? What went wrong this time? And something inside of you started to click? Maybe the problem isn't you aren't meeting the wrong people. Maybe you're following the same pattern and you don't even realize it. What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to try to talk about something totally different that can help change the way we start looking at relationships. You know, me personally, I used to think that I had bad luck. I used to, blame that it was the wrong timing. A lot of times I would blame other people. There are times where I even blamed certain circumstances. But eventually I started to ask myself a lot harder question. Like, what if that common denominator wasn't everyone else? What if it was actually me? And one thing I've learned is that unresolved patterns just don't disappear just because life changes. You know, you can move to different cities. You can even change jobs. You'll always meet new people. And obviously you'll always start over. But what if that pattern underneath everything still hasn't changed? See, eventually life starts feeling a little familiar again. And it's not because everyone that you meet is the same person, but it's because we often respond to people through habits we learned way before we even met that person. And this is one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn. We often confuse that level of familiarity with compatibility. Something can feel incredibly comfortable with that person simply because we may have experienced before. And that doesn't automatically make it healthy. Sometimes it's just our nervous system, it recognizes what feels familiar way before our mind even asks whether it is actually good for us or not. And looking back at my own life, I can see where my own life I had those patterns. I didn't have them just in relationships. There were sometimes I had it in friendships. There were even places that I used to work for only because it felt familiar to me. And once I stopped asking, why does this keep happening to me? And I switched my mindset and I started asking, what keeps bringing me back here? And that's where everything started to make sense. Because healing isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming aware enough to interrupt the pattern well before it starts to repeat itself. That level of awareness alone does not solve it, though. But it's difficult to change something if you don't recognize it. So, today, instead of asking yourself, why do I keep meeting the same exact people? What I would like you to try to do is ask yourself, what pattern am I carrying into these relationships? Because unresolved patterns don't just disappear on their own. They often seek what feels familiar. And sometimes we keep choosing the same person. They just may be in different bodies. One last thing before I end today's video is I wanted to start trying to share where this channel is headed. For a long time, these videos that I've been making have been me sharing my own experiences and perspectives in life. And that's not going to go away. But I also believe that true growth starts to happen through healthy, honest conversations. And so before I let you go, I wanted to share something that I feel I'm incredibly excited about. This channel has always been about those honest conversations. But I don't want this platform itself to only be about me. So over the next couple of months, I'm going to start inviting people from different walks of life to sit down with me. I do have a therapist that I'm going to start doing a podcast with. Her and I are going to sit down in the next couple of weeks. I do have other people, community members, family members, veterans, authors, and just anyone who has a story or a different perspective that could help somebody else. And my goal in life is not to tell people what to think. It's just to create conversations that make us think. And honestly, some of those conversations might be with you who actually watch these videos. And so I'm going to ask, if you have a story yourself, or if you've overcome something in your life, If you learned something that could help another person, or even if you just simply have a different perspective worth sharing, I would love to hear from you. Please reach out through the website in the description below, or you could comment below if you'd like. And I'm hoping that maybe we can sit down together, because at the end of the day, none of us have all of the answers. But together, we might be able to have better questions.